Hi, everyone. This is JuEunhae Knox, and it's good to see you again for another of our COVID conversations. This series has been just looking at different people in our community, whether in sports, in arts, in different parts of life. Just how are they coping with the pandemic and learning to help out, learning to keep going in the midst of really troubling times. So with us today, we are really excited to have Daniel Lee from the Opium Restaurant, and they've been so amazing and kind in our endeavors for the community meal delivered, which I'm sure a lot of you have heard through our Facebook page, delivering to those who are elderly as well as many vulnerable families who are in isolation or sheltering during this time. So we're going to get to learn a little bit more about Daniel and what motivates him and just a little about his life story. So welcome, Daniel. It's great to have you with us. So I was just wondering if you could maybe just give us a brief intro to who you are, where you're from, maybe any of your favorite hobbies besides cooking, that sort of thing.
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name's Daniel from Opium Restaurant. I was born in Glasgow. My dad, who owns the restaurant, is from Hong Kong, so our entire family is from that side of the world. And he came over to UK when he was pretty young, when he was like in his kind of teenage side of his age. And then as he grew up, he just got into more and more of the kind of restaurant field and eventually came to Glasgow
Mm.
and opened up Opium. With me, I started in Opium maybe like 10 years ago when it just started opening, and I've been there since. In terms of hobbies, I play a lot of piano. Got a piano over this side. I try to look after plants. They often they do okay.
Do you have like a favorite style that you play? Like, are you classical trained, or do you also do your own stuff?
So I did piano for years. I took lessons from a guy who played for his church
Mm.
called Ian, and he was amazing. I could give him a piece of music, and then he'd just play it, and I'd be amazed just watching him. But he taught me kind of like the kind of classical side, because he said if you can play classical, you can play like a lot of different things.
So you told us a little bit about how opium's been around for about 10 years or so, right? So did your dad have experience in running a restaurant before then, or like from the ground up? How did he start that?
He got into it pretty young. I think he was in things like London and Manchester down in England, and he was with like different mentors, like kind of restaurateurs of
Mm.
that area. And then he came up to Glasgow maybe in his 20s, and then he became a manager in lots of different restaurants, and eventually decided he just wanted his own restaurant and started Opium.
And where did the name come from? How did he think of that?
It's pretty interesting because we were going down up and down Buchanan Street, and we were asking people like, what do you think of this name? What do you think of this name? And we had things like Mama Lings and some other names, and we kind of just had Opium as a kind of joke, really, because it was not really a normal name, because it's like after the kind of drug.
Yeah.
And then everybody liked it,
Hmm.
and we thought, okay, we'll just try it and see what happens. And 10 years later, we're still called Opium.
What would you say is like the most challenging thing about running a restaurant, but also what's on the other side, one of the most positive things about running a restaurant?
The most positive thing is the guests. Like, our guests are all incredible. I know that in some other restaurants, or say like cafes and bars, you can get some pretty challenging customers that aren't that nice all the time. But a lot of our guests are just great. You know, they eventually become like friends to us. And even during this time, um, there have been some of our guests who wanted to help donate and deliver some of the food that we've made. They offered to take the food to hospitals and different people. So I'd say the best thing are the guests, really.
Mm.
The most challenging thing is just trying to continue creating and keeping it interesting.
Is there like a special dish that you feel like you helped create or that your dad created?
The ones that my dad have created are all his kind of like recipes that he has over the years collected and made his own. So he's like worked in so many different places and kind of built his own little recipes that I guess they're kind of like little secrets from him, that he has his own little recipes that he makes. And then, yeah, just sees how people enjoys them. Not all of them work, but a lot of them do. But he himself enjoys a lot of his like ribeye beef recipes and stuff.
Oh,
So it's interesting to see how he goes with that.
yes, steak. Oh, so good. And
Yeah.
would you say that like is this something that you want to continue, or like what sparked you to personally be in the restaurant business?
I started when I was 18, so he called me in to work at the bar at first. And then I was just doing loads of different kind of like roles, from doing bar training to just training staff in general. And now I do a lot of like the social media stuff. Um, so it's been a pretty interesting kind of journey with him, because he's my dad, but he's also the boss.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like that balance of like, I could tell him this, but I shouldn't. And then he'll tell me stuff. And it's just this interesting dynamic of like father son kind of thing.
So what also inspired you guys to even think of this idea to aid others in the lockdown, like with donations of meals and that sort of thing?
When we first heard that all the restaurants were shutting down, well, just to close, I mean, um, we knew that we would have to make a plan from the lockdown all the way to maybe like even a year's time.
Wow.
If that was the case, we didn't know. You know, it's like everybody was kind of scared and panicking, just knowing that they might never ever return. So we had to make that plan first, and then we said, okay, we think that we'll be able to survive, actually, which is really good. We had like great, amazing people,
Yeah.
and we would be able to look after all the staff during that time as well. So
Wow.
things were good for us, but at the same time, we knew that it wasn't going to be the same situation for everybody else. So we just kind of had like a little brainstorming session and found that there were communities that we could help. And that was kind of just it. We thought that if we could help, we should. You know, not everyone can. So we had resources and people that could help, and here we are.
We need to support each other during this time. We can't be isolated, isolated physically, but not
Yeah,
emotionally.
it's been super uplifting to see how many people have actually come together during this time. Like a lot of people, I remember, just panicked, and it was a very normal reaction. But then there are a lot of people who also just banded together and got together, and it was amazing. And even just now, there's so much positivity from so many different people from all walks of life. So it's great to see.
Now, you guys have done so much work for not just community meal delivered, but also like the NHS and caring for carers and that sort of thing. So we know that there are so many heroes essentially. And when I say heroes, I don't mean like the superheroes, but people just doing their average work and sacrificing for others, even though people don't notice it, you know. But just out of curiosity, like, would you say that in your life you've had I'm sure you've had many, but like a particular person who acted as a hero to you, or someone who just influences
Mm.
you and you want to be like them when you grow up, so to speak?
Yeah, my girlfriend just now is training to become a nurse for
Mhm.
the NHS just now, and it's something that it's the kind of like care that she has. It's like the kindness, the kind of kindness that you just never see from just like a normal interactions. It's something that I would aspire to have more of. You know, it's like watching her be so nice to everyone and expect absolutely nothing back. It's just nice to see. It's like it's very simple things. It's not necessarily massive things, but it's just that kind of trait of a personality that I like. It's just overwhelming kindness.
That's amazing. That's actually so cool that your girlfriend is becoming a nurse, especially in this challenging time. I'm sure like many people will be like, oh, it's
Yeah,
kind of trial.
yeah.
But my mom actually is going through becoming a nurse as well. So I definitely know how challenging that is. Like she's like, there's so many tests and things to prepare for, but
Yeah.
all in the end, it's so beneficial to people. So, on a slightly different note, if you had to choose one of your favorite meals that you would just eat every day for all of lockdown,
Oh
what is
man.
something that you just would not grow tired of?
Oh man, that is such a tough question.
Yeah.
Um, maybe maybe lasagna. I just love lasagna. I don't know why. I think it's that I love making lasagna. The whole
Mm,
process of it takes some time, but the kind of end result is just worth it. I think it's lasagna. It's got to be that.
yeah. So, what would you say is maybe like one positive effect, not about the pandemic, but about lockdown itself? Is there anything that you felt like you've grown from personally throughout this trial and experience?
It maybe it doesn't apply everywhere, but it's great to see how people have found ways to continue connecting with each other
Mm,
during this time, especially when you can't physically be there all the time. For example, just this Zoom conversation is
yeah.
just just great, just to um, even for mental and emotional support for different people. Just talking to people, being able to connect with technology is a huge positive, in my opinion.
What would you
Mm,
say is there anything that like you hold for the future, like even when things get dark, what is your value? What do you put your trust in?
uh, super good question. I think just family and friends, like it, as you said, like it does make you think about the things that are super important. Like it makes you kind of just think that all those things that I used to worry about is not even a big deal now. Like it puts so much into perspective. And so I'd say probably family and friends. It just gets me through each day.
On that note, one final question. What is, I know hopefully the lockdown's supposed to start ending little by little this week. But what are you looking forward to most when lockdown is done?
I think I miss traveling a lot.
Mm,
Like just going away, just forgetting about everything and just going to a completely different culture or something very different. That's what I miss, just traveling.
mm, yeah. Where would you like to travel if you could? If there's no danger anywhere, where would you want to go?
I've got a bucket list, but I think the next one is going to be Greece, maybe like Santorini or somewhere really nice.
Yeah. Well, that's wonderful talking to you, Daniel. And again, we are so thankful to have the support of you and your dad, and as well as all the staff and those who are donating to Community Meal Delivered. So thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you as well. And everyone on the team, everyone from the community has been so nice, and just keep up the good work, everyone.
All right, we'll talk to you soon, everyone. It's been great having you, and keep staying tuned to our COVID conversations. We'll be having different ones each week, and be sure to support the amazing Opium Restaurant. Their food is so delicious, and it's just supporting those in need. So we'll talk to you soon, and have a great day.